Well, we're coming to your city. Gonna play our guitars and sing you a country song. We'll all be flying higher than a jetliner. And if you want a little bang in your yin-yang, come along.
Come on along and welcome aboard Indiana Sports Beat, coming to you from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios here on this Monday, as we always are. Charlie Miller will be joining us shortly. We'll talk to Jim Reamer as well to catch up on Mr. Basketball and the All-Star teams coming out for the state of Indiana as we reach getting closer to that point. Indiana basketball getting some more offers out. The soccer program, triple-double. How about that? Wow. Third consecutive double when they win the Big Ten regular season and the Big Ten tournament soccer championship, which they did in PKs on Saturday night. I went there to watch that. It was certainly an exciting ending, just like my daughter had a soccer tournament this weekend. It ended last night in PKs. So some exciting sports action. Brad Stevens back in the news. We'll talk about that a little bit later. When I've talked about that, and this is the perfect point, he was simply, it has nothing to do with Indiana University. It didn't matter. You saw, and we've spoken about it before, but I said it. How many times have I said that it was not about the money? I mean, how many times did you hear me say that on here? A lot, if you were listening, because I said it over and over. It was not about the money. And now you can clearly see it was not about the money. He turned down $70 million guaranteed money. That's a lot more than what he's making right now. And it's certainly a lot more than what he's guaranteed, but it was not about the money. So there you go. Put that to bed. But that's why when these things happen and everybody gets all jacked up, and that's why we're trying to find out information, but we would probably be less pushy if the people behind us were less pushy, but it's just how it ends up. But Sid hitting us up early on the Andy Moore Honda hotline. Brad turned down $70 million over 7 years for IU job. Yep, he certainly did, because it was not about the money. People, Indiana fans, do not understand. The NBA, like the NBA, like Major League Baseball, is the elite. Do you think someone would leave as manager of the Cincinnati Reds to become the baseball coach at Indiana? Do you think someone would leave the Cincinnati Reds to become the coach at Texas A&M? No, it's not going to happen. They're not leaving the NBA to come. A head coach is not leaving. Brad Stevens wouldn't leave the Boston Celtics to go to Duke. It's not going to happen. So hopefully that put to rest that kind of talk. But I would say that the next time something like that happens, maybe remember this, but it doesn't matter. How's everybody doing? I hope you had a great weekend. It was relaxing for me. Didn't do much for the first time. Just tried to chill. Actually, I said that it didn't do much, but yeah, it was still at the Big Ten soccer match Saturday night championship. Indiana looked pretty good. Man, Victor Brazzera, dude's a wild man. He's a Tasmanian devil on the field. They can't. I don't know how many shots on goal he had, but they were a lot in the first half, and they were all from him. Man, he's just, you can't contain. That dude is going to make some money playing professionally. He is a Tasmanian devil. But Penn State was able to get a late goal to tie that, man. And then it goes to PKs, but Indiana able to pull that out. And they'll be moving on to the NCAA tournament. I'm going to try to get Todd Yeagley on. It's just, unfortunately, when we do the show, they are in training. So we'll probably end up having to record something to get him on here. But nonetheless, certainly want to hear from Coach Yeagley. Another incredible season for those guys. The third straight triple-double. I mean, that's Well, no, it is the triple-double. It's not the third straight. It's the triple-double. They've won 3 straight doubles. It's that. That's incredible. We're talking at a very, very, very high level here. So that's something of note. And that's hard to do something of note with a program that is already the most decorated program in college soccer, in all of college soccer. But yet they do something new yet again. It's crazy. But congratulations to those guys. Hope everybody had a great weekend. Charlie Miller is going to be joining us in about 5 minutes or so. Charlie says that he's confirming Andre Patterson. How about that? That would be great. Awesome. So we're always working to get you guys. Sid says, what about Joey going to Ohio State? Well, let me get back up here and catch up. Tony says, yeah, it could have been even more money. That was just an opening offer. If they thought he would have been interested, they would have left some negotiating room. Yeah, I think that they did have more room, but I think he made it clear at the onset that he is just simply not interested in leaving the NBA. He was not interested in leaving the Celtics. Who leaves the Boston Celtics? I mean, it was not going to happen, but it was good to think about. Tony said the soccer program is a machine. It absolutely is. Ed's joining us as well. Billy Donovan has had offers, I am sure, and hasn't returned. You know he's had offers. His name comes up every year. You're exactly right, Ed. His name comes up every year. How many? But now, a 10-7 offer is different. Now, I don't think that he's received a lot of those because that's a pretty substantial offer to any coach in any league. That's elite. It still would not make him the highest paid basketball coach in college basketball. It would have left him behind. It would have made him third. So it wasn't like they left everything on the table, like was said. So there may have been, and I've heard that there was more room. I mean, absolutely, they weren't going. If they got that close, if they hinted, if there was a hint of a possibility, it would have been attempted. But it was not a possibility. It's just simply not leaving the NBA. What about Joey going to Ohio State? So, yeah. Well, I don't know that he's going to – first of all, we don't know what his back situation is like, but it must be good enough that Ohio State has taken him. He's a solid player. He's a veteran. So he should be benefit in some way. But, hey, better off for him. Indiana needs to do what they need to do. Obviously, there was a lot of discussions between coaches and Joe, and they talked to him. I don't think that this was accidental. I don't think that this caught them off guard. I personally think this was a roster move. But I don't know that. I'm not saying that for certain. But we'll find out. But it is what it is. Everything has to continue to move forward. Indiana's doing what they're doing right now. And I don't know exactly what that is. I don't know exactly if they're looking at specific players in the portal right now as opposed to recruiting this particular second because it's a great option. And I would think the portal is an extremely good option right now because there's a lot of freshmen in there too. Guys you too can develop. So it's a different game, and that's the great thing because Indiana can be a lot better program, a lot faster than people anticipate. It should not have taken 4 years. There's no reason for that. That was a separate issue. This will not be like that. There will be excitement. Of course, there will be excitement, but there will be a ton of excitement next year. But I think that excitement will turn to a positive season. I would be shocked if this team is not an NCAA tournament team. No way. Baseball, not so much, man. They won a series over the weekend with Northwestern, but man, they're just staying even, not really picking up any ground. It just seems like, I don't know, maybe the COVID got them. Did baseball get to practice as much in the spring or in the fall, rather, as say soccer, those programs who were moved to the spring? Just the baseball team just got into a rut. Couldn't get things going. Let's see. Donnie's on here. Donnie talk about Joey. Says he wasn't going to play much. I agree. Forrest jumps in. Joey's going to play for the coach that recruited him out of high school, correct? Was freshman on Holtzman's final year at Butler. There you go. So that's right. You got that relationship. And he's going to go get a doctorate degree. So he's got that. He's already has his master's. He got his bachelor's from Butler, a master's from Indiana, and he's going to get a doctorate from Ohio State. Joey Brunk is a smart kid. He's not going to play professional basketball. But man, oh man, he's going to play professional something in the world of business. And congratulations to him for it. Ed says, talking about the portal, is the portal a one-time deal this year? No. Oh, no. No. The portal was around before this year. The reason the portal is getting so much news, Ed, and everybody else, is this now just everyone knew it was coming, but the one-time transfer rule that has come into play where you can transfer without sitting out just came into play. So that's one of the reasons the portal has jumped up, but it was already kind of popular. But this new rule, it's crazy town, man. It's the Wild West. I think it will settle down in a few years, but I don't know, not anytime soon. This is funny. I'm getting texts from Charlie. It's making me laugh. But yeah, we got to hit a break coming up next anyway. So, but yeah, looking forward to Charlie joining us coming up next. And looks like we're going to be talking to Andre Patterson today as well. So looking forward to that. Hey, you're listening to us from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, brought to you by the great folks at 80 More Honda Bloomington. Back with more right after this. Hey, Hoosier fans, whether you're looking for a new or a used vehicle. Oh, man. Yep. Oh, okay. He's on the team bus.
Charlie is?
No, Andre. So this may be a phone call. You set up for a phone call?
No, I'll do that today. I'll make sure I can get set for phone calls from now on.
Well, I
you
mean,
the thing through your phone like you did last time, because I'm worried about the echo still.
Andre Patterson. Do I have his number? I do not. Okay, send me his number. I'd rather join him in the break than try to get him joined on while we're on the show.
Yeah, we're back in about 30 seconds, by the way.
French Lick, West Baden, Indiana. You'll find great places to visit, to stay, to dine, and to play. We offer an up-close animal encounter with elephants and giraffes, lodging that is out of this world, world-class golfing, and a premier resort experience that is waiting for you on your next visit to French Lick, West Baden.
Today's guest is brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry of Sillersburg. You need $1 million smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you'll get with Reynolds Family Dentistry. Welcome back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios on this Monday. Charlie's getting a splinter out of his son's foot right now and will be joining us shortly. I'm sure all of you know what that's like. Man, there's nothing worse than having a child with a problem. You got to get to it. You have to do it, man. And with splinters, oh man, remember doing that? That's the toughest thing in the world. Worst thing is the worst thing was having your dad take one out of you. There is nothing worse than having your dad take a splinter out. Because first of all, they're not as caring, let's just say. Oh man. But yeah, funny things about parenthood. Isn't it great? Let's see. Waiting for Andre Patterson's going to be joining us. Charlie Miller coming on a little late as he's getting that splinter out. And you guys are hitting up. Let's see. Forrest mentions the portal is free agency. That is basically what it is exactly now but that's okay. It's why should they not have that option? Everybody else has it and is making a ton of money on it. Keith says, what about the kid that transferred to MSU and then re-entered the portal? He was a defensive player in his conference last year, plus 18 points a game. Wow. I didn't see that. How the hell do you transfer then enter the portal? That's nuts. Tim says the NBA may postpone some games after the Chauvin verdict. And Keith says about, and I'm saying the same thing. Let's see. Cool. Looking forward to Charlie getting on here, getting this spinner out. What else is going on with you guys? I hope you had a great weekend as we look forward to this week coming forward and Indiana filling out that roster as they've got to be getting closer and closer to getting that done so they can get things finalized and moving forward. I'm a little surprised, I'll be honest with you, that they haven't already just locked it down because it's not that much left to do. But the fact that it is taking a little longer shows that they're either being very selective, which would be a great thing, or it's less of a concern about that and more about what they currently have. So Tim wants to see the basketball rule change, an NCAA basketball rule change. Give the ball to the defense when a held ball is called instead of who possession. You know what? Not a bad idea. Maybe. Rub some dirt on it, you'll be fine. Yeah, that's my old football coach would say that. Rub some dirt on it, Tony. Absolutely. But spring football, Alabama had a monster crowd. They weren't the only one, but spring football alive, and they had a gigantic crowd. Of course, they always do. Like 90,000 people. So looking forward to that. Maybe just give Andre a call. I'm going to give Andre a call. How about that? We'll wait for Charlie when he comes on. How about we'll see if Andre's available. This is live. We're just going to call him. How about them apples? But, yeah, spring football got underway in the South, and it was gigantic. Up here, of course, we didn't get to enjoy that as much as the games fans were not allowed in. Been able to talk to the coaches, and things seem to be going well. Hey, Andre. Pretty good, man. It's Jim Coyle, friend of Charlie's. We're actually on. Charlie's not with us yet, but I just wanted to give you a heads up. Are you on the bus right now? Okay, so let me get this on. Now you're on speaker. They couldn't hear you before. I didn't want to ambush you like that.
Well, thanks for having me, man. This is great.
Hey, thanks for coming on. We appreciate it. Love having former players on, and as the fans do. And Charlie be gone. He's getting a splinter out of his son's foot right now. Is the only reason he's not on with us yet.
Well, that's more important. You got to take care of that.
I was like, man, there is nothing worse than having a small child with something like a splinter. It is like the worst thing in the world for them. It's like the world is collapsing.
Of course. And as a parent, you wish you could take that from them, but sometimes adversity helps us grow. So hopefully they work through that together and can laugh about it later.
Andre, what is new with you? You're on the team bus. Where are you guys heading? Who are you playing for? What's going on?
So I'm working the front office for the Cleveland Cavaliers. We're headed to the Little Caesars Arena. We play the Detroit Pistons tonight. It's part of the protocols. We test in the morning, which we got done with. Now we're headed to shoot around so we can prep for the game tonight.
And front office jobs, man, those are so important and lead to things like a GM positions. And for college fans, a lot of people don't understand the hierarchy of some of the pro sports, but man, and is that something that you see yourself heading towards, or is it coaching, or is it the front office?
It's the front office. It's hopefully a GM opportunity. But more important is just team building, being a part of building a team and hopefully getting to a point where you're competing for a championship, and that's the goal.
Absolutely, man. And the funny thing is there are quite a few IU guys that are in front office roles in the NBA. A lot of people don't realize that, but I didn't realize that you were with the Cavs in the front office. So it's stuff you learn every day.
Oh yeah, there's quite a few, ex-players and what ex-managers of IU around the league and in front office positions. So it's awesome to see, and it's good that we all get to stay connected and talk through best practices together to help each other grow through the business.
The college basketball has kind of recently become a little like the NBA, Andre, with not only the portal, but now you add in the one-time transfer rule in there. So it's, as one of the fans pointed out, it is basically like free agency in college right now.
Yeah, me and a couple of colleagues were talking about that the other day. It's free agency in college. I never thought I would see the day. And it's another added thing is this year, because of COVID, everybody gets a free year. So that adds to, I guess what we call the class of free agency. You just have it's expanded because of, not losing guys or potentially not losing guys to the draft.
And there's definitely been, or is going to be, an accordion effect from college down, because you got that extra class of guys now, but that stretches all the way down to the high schools. Those freshmen that are being recruited, that they're kind of being stunted now. There's less places for them to go because they don't know where the openings are because of this portal, because of so many movements. It's like a gigantic pro league. The pro league only has 32 teams. There's 300 Division I teams.
Yeah, and now you add the G League Ignite, which the NBA has created for, to give these high school kids an opportunity, which, unfortunately we're competing with the NCAA in colleges, but it just opens up another door for those guys that have an opportunity to seek out being a professional basketball player or within their careers.
What led you to front office, working in the front office, heading towards that direction? A lot of guys, the competitive juices, when you stop playing, leads you towards coaching because that keeps you within that first step away. But what led you to the front office?
Team building. I got the bug in Europe and a GM having faith in my insight and on trying to choose a player, and that kind of sparked the bug in me that actually had a chance to choose a player that we ended up going and being co-champions of a league over in Spain. So that started it. And then once I got the opportunity in the NBA and got some experience with Utah Jazz that just fueled it even more. Because you still get to to tap into that competitive edge. You're trying to play that chess game with these other teams and get the better end of negotiations, and you're strategizing, trying to figure out what's the best way and how you can maximize your assets, draft picks on your team, and you're also trying to build your team within your conference to compete for a championship. So it's still there. It still enables you to tap into that competitive edge, and I enjoy it a lot.
And as we look through these, I talked a minute ago about several different IU guys that are in the front offices, but it's this coaching tree, as I call it, from Coach Knight, which I consider this a part of that. It's amazing, again, that the amount of people that from the played for him or coached for him that are continuing to still, the mark that's still left on this game, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, and always will be. He's instilled in all of his players the qualities that's needed in competing, team building, and working together as a team. And so those are things that you're able to use, whether you're coaching basketball, playing basketball, working in the front office. And I'm very thankful for that.
And you may have the most complete resume of anybody I think I've ever seen. I mean, and I think because of being an Army kid, or was it Army? I know it was a military kid, but
yeah, it was Air Force. My dad was in the Army and Air Force, but
wow, double duty. So he did both. He wasn't good enough to do one, so he did both. Okay, there you go. Wow. But yeah, you moved all around the country. So while that sucks as a kid, later in life, is there positives to that you've gained?
Even earlier in life, it was positives because it allowed me to learn at an early age how to adapt to different surroundings and adapt through adversity, adapt through, just being uncomfortable. You know what I mean? And so, I learned that at an early age and have been able to carry that forward into today. And
then you played high school in Texas, a great, which is a great high school area for basketball for Indiana fans. You don't know it is just like it is for football because it's so big. But you played for from 94 to 98, but you got to play with some that era. Man, it's the favorite era for me because I'd just gotten out of school, but just before then, should have been a national championship in that area. Those teams from 90 through the mid 90s, man, were just juggernauts. And you got to play with some great teammates. And there were some great guys that got to mix. And man, oh man, I love seeing the combinations of guys as you look back through the rosters of guys who got to play with each other, if it was just 1 year or not. But even though your freshman year, those guys that had just been there for 3 and 4 years, that was a hell of a group.
No, it really was. And I was honored to be able to get recruited by some of those guys. Didn't get a chance to play with, some of those guys that recruited me, in Calvin Chaney and Chris Reynolds. But I tell you, it's just an honor to be a part of the IU family. And, and the fans have been great still to this day. Whenever I see a fan or get a letter in the mail sometimes, and I just appreciate the support and continued support no matter what.
And, we just talked about the tree of sorts. Well, Chris Reynolds, you just mentioned, he's just got an extension on his AD contract at, I think, at Bradley. So there's another example of that. Perfect. Dusty May was he during your time or he after you?
Yeah, Dusty was during my time. Mike Schrage was during my time, and I believe he's the head coach of Elon. Alan Henderson was a great an example of that is I was his rookie basically. So if he was a veteran in the NBA, I was a rookie coming in. I was a freshman coming in, and he was the senior, and so I was his little freshman. And to this day, I appreciate the brotherhood and the welcoming brotherhood that he gave me coming in there.
Yeah, and we talked to Dusty was just on a show with us like a week or so ago. But yeah, Schrage and Dusty May, those guys were hey, Charlie's on with us. Look at Charlie. Hey, Charlie, I've got, let's see, you cannot hear because I'm talking to Andre on my phone.
Okay,
so now I got to figure out how to get that to where you can hear it. Well, let's hit a break, and we'll try to get that so you can hear So you can hear Andre. So let's hit a break. We'll be back with more Indiana Sports Speak. Charlie Miller joining us, and we're talking to Andre Patterson. Thanks. We'll be back with more from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios right after this.
Welcome
I'm gonna hang
to
up,
your
Andre.
I'm so glad he was available.
Hey, John,
Yes.
you should be able to call him on your phone. Where's my earpiece? I said I lost it.
Well,
I
but
can't hear.
I know what you're saying, but listen to what I'm talking about. This is what's going to happen is what happened with Don Fisher. Is I'm gonna have
Turn
to
your mic
unplug-
down. Turn your mics down. Turn all your mics down except for the one that you're feeding the phone into. And turn our mics down when he's talking.
That's a lot to do with a system like this. Isn't like working at a radio station. I can't do all that at the same time.
I know.
And I'm worried it's going to sound weird. I'm not going to be able to edit it for radio and Audacity. It's not that simple.
Okay. Well, just call him and let's see how it works. All right.
You want me to call him? Okay.
Yes.
Or send me his phone number real quick.
All right. Doing it on the fly, Charlie.
Hey, man. That's what it looks like IU basketball is going to be doing, too.
What you got to do, man.
That's right.
How you been? Get that splitter out, man?
Yeah, we got it out, man. Yeah, he had a splinter in his foot. You know, we had to brace him. We had to hold him down. He's 5 years old.
I know.
So, you know,
I was thinking 7, but I was like,
No,
man, well, there is nothing. I said, it's like, this is like in the old West when they give you the bottle of whiskey and the cap to chew on.
Yeah, he's thinking the worst, and mommy screaming, and I'm like, hey man, she's got it out.
Hey Jim, read me the phone number out loud because it's not coming through. It's giving me that no subject crap.
Hey,
972.
I just got a message from Andre.
Stop talking, John.
I just got a message from Andre. Said he had to go into the gym. So
cool.
So I'm glad you got a chance to speak to him.
We'll get him back on. We'll get him back on next week, maybe when you're on.
Yeah, we'll coordinate that. Yes. Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah. That was awesome, man. He was so awesome.
Good. I just want to
can't find my fucking earpiece. God damn it. Did it fall? God damn it.
We're coming back in 30 seconds.
Perfect.
You can hear me.
There it is. I can hear you. I'm just missing one of them. It got me nuts. For deals like this, how about a new 2020 Honda Civic LX front-wheel drive lease for just $180 a month, or a new 2021 Honda Accord LX front-wheel drive lease for just $270 a month. Andy Moore Honda Bloomington, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer.
Come see us at the all-new Andy Moore Honda, now in Bloomington.
This segment is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
Welcome back to the Golf Club Eagle Point Studios on this Monday. Just like pro ball, man, we made a trade that quick. Traded Andre for Charlie.
I like it.
Break.
I like it.
Andre had to go into a meeting actually, but we will get him back on maybe next week when Charlie is on. So, but that was fun. We got to talk to him for a couple of minutes.
Good.
I did not realize where he was at this time.
Yeah.
And that's what I was telling him. I'm like, gosh, I'm going to have to start a freaking flow chart.
Yes.
To get names of where everybody is because it's too much, man. And
listen,
the stuff I'm like, golly.
Well, and that's what I was saying, you know, if you put up like a chart or you think about former play, anybody affiliated with okay, he says he has 5 more minutes. And again, we're on the fly. Up to you. He says he has 5 more minutes if that's something that we want to do. We just want to wait till next week. What you call?
Why don't you call him? You can call him and you can talk to him for 5 minutes.
Can I?
Yeah, we better wait. Tell him we'll do it next week.
We'll do that next week. It's all good. Yeah.
Tell him we'll do it next week. But it was. I'm all thanking, but man, it was awesome.
No,
but he was.
And that's what I was saying. Like if you look out, and this is also going to the afterlife of playing or being a manager or coaching at IU, coach night or not, there's something to be said when you play at a program like this, that people want a piece of your knowledge, your wisdom for years to come. Andre has spent time with Utah, the Jazz. He has spent, and so think about the coaches he's been around. Not only his playing career when he was at Minnesota, and Kevin McHale really was fond of him as a player, right? I mean, so I mean, you go back 20 plus years with Andre himself.
Just 20 years. Yeah.
20. And people may not realize that. So now when you go to the Keith Smarts, the Calbert Cheneys, the Mike Lewises, the Dane Price, the Michael Schragis, the Dusty Mays, and people, okay, who are those names? Those people were instrumental to building IU basketball as players, as managers. Now they're helping college basketball, professional basketball get even better. Right. And it's it's one of those things that's just not as sexy, right? I mean, it is what it is. But I mean, those guys have been doing their thing for a while.
It's because they're grinding.
That's right.
They're grinding, and people don't see the grind.
And one more other person that again I want to bring myself into this is Joe Abunasar. Here's another basketball manager back in the 80s that started Impact Basketball. And people are like, okay, what are these names? Well, let me give you this. Joe Abunasar was the forefather of player development. It was Joe who started Impact, and then Joe ended up going to IMG Academy, which I know a lot of people know of as far as basketball, but Joe was actually instrumental at starting IMG Academy in the basketball side, because IMG at that time was known for tennis. So they chimed into Joe and got his philosophy and ideas, and he had a piece of IMG. So players were coming from all across the country and the world training with Joe. So Impact Basketball, and then the likes of the Chauncey Billups, the Teron Lewis, the Kevin Garnetts, they all started with Joe, and like with Joe's first class of trainers, the trainees, I should say. And that's what inspired me. And I've been doing this for 11 years,
Man.
So, and actually, no, and I say this, I'm not moonlighting, like this is actually what I do. But again, it's one of those unseen hour things. It's not on ESPN, it's just the unseen hours.
I'm going to need you to do some homework. I'm going to need you just a list of names. Just a list of names. You don't have to put anything else out there. I'll Google everybody.
Yeah.
I need you to give me a list of names of everybody that you know that is whether a manager, former player, because it is so freaking deep.
I got another guy. I'm going to throw his name out there. His name is Ryan Carr. May be familiar, may not. Ryan Carr, Bird's right-hand man with the Pacers for many years, was a basketball manager. And for me, in honesty, what I say, man, wow, Ryan. I mean, nothing against like Ryan. Like, all these people, I would not think, but it's their expertise, their knowledge, their basketball dedication that's helped these organizations win games, meaningful games for years. I mean, Ryan Carr was there when the heyday of the Pacers and the Cavs, former
working with Larry Bird.
Exactly.
Working with Reggie Miller.
Exactly.
Being around him at least.
Exactly.
Wow. You can't emulate that. You can't emulate that anywhere else, because sometimes there are moments in time. That was a moment in time for being around the Pacers and Magic. Yep. I mean, golly, can you imagine that? That was, even though they didn't win a championship for the Pacers, that has to be maybe the pinnacle, because they were competitive with Michael Jordan, who was at his zenith.
Right.
You had Slick Leonard on the side screaming "boom, baby." You got Reggie dropping threes. You got Larry Legend on the sideline. Man, it doesn't get any better than that.
Yeah. And I had another name that just kind of came in and came out. There's another name that kind of came out. Man, I'm gonna it's gonna come back to me, but just so like for me, that's why there's always an appreciation. Even LJ Wright, we spoke 2 weeks ago. I mean, Indiana is still affecting the basketball culture and affected it at a very high level.
That's right. He's the head of all NCAA men's championships.
At a high level, Indiana basketball is still affected. It was what we call the dupe room, duplication, short way. But it was the dupe room that started for a lot of those guys. Oh, George David. I talked about George David. George David was a good friend of mine. He was Joe Dumars' right-hand man, Jim, with the Pistons, right? And George had a internship because the head film guy quit the day George had his internship, and they say, hey, man, we know what you did in Indiana. You want this job? And he had a choice between working at Big Boy, taking over franchises for his dad, or working for the Pistons as an intern. I remember
it's
the
like
call.
Moneyball, man. This is Moneyball.
It's like, hey, man, what should I do? I'm like, hey, man, you really want to go with the Pistons?
You want to sell hamburgers?
It's always going to be there. That's your fallback. You got to win-win. So, I mean, the rest is history. Again, he was there for those championship runs. It was his scouting. And I mean, anytime you see Joe Dumars, I saw George, and it was like, I mean, it was pretty cool to see that. So yeah, just sharing excitement from even for what these players are going to get themselves into years down the road. I mean, just for playing at Indiana, however your career went, there's a stick to it that can really support you and help you.
It's amazing how you pointed out the effect on the sport.
On the sport.
From a long time ago that continues to this day. I mean, I don't know that there's any other place that I've always said that, but that does. I mean, look, Chris Beard, all that same thing, same tree, man, same tree.
He attributes a lot of what he learned from Coach Knight, and then again, everyone does their variation of motion, but I can see a lot of similarities in style of play and mentality. You can see it. We all are influenced somehow in some way. So, it's no mystery right now why he's in his heyday as a coach and now why he's moved on to Texas.
And it's very unusual that we can go back to the source.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Bob Knight is the source here.
Yeah.
And as much fallout that there was with him personally, his genius will never stop.
Well, you say that, and I want to take it even further from Coach Knight. This is what I've learned. Coach Knight endorsed a book I wrote. It was what called My Attack Planner, and he endorsed it. He wrote a little segment in there for me. And you go back from Coach Knight. I did research, and it was Coach Knight's mentors. And Pete Newell. Pete Newell, the coach he coached at the University of San Francisco. It was Pete Newell's philosophy on what you call part whole method. Coach, we were really big as part whole a team, meaning you take the whole of what you do and you break it down. You chunk it. You work on 2-on-0, 3-on-0, 3-on-2, 2-on-1. Well, that really wasn't the thing back in the 80s, 90s. You work on your whole system. But Pete Newell was like the pioneer of the part whole method. That was Coach Knight's mentor. That's my homework and research I did. I'm really big on part whole because it helps the individual player learn team and game concepts quicker. You can versus working on 5-on-5. No, 1-on-0, the same actions they're going to do, the same reads, the same options. That was Coach Knight. That's homework and research I did 15 plus years after playing basketball. Oh, I see the genius. I see why we're doing what we're doing in practice. I see where it came from. So now that method to the madness, you put people to it. He was influenced by the father, by the pioneer of that type of practice style. That was Pete Newell.
And took it into a different level.
Exactly. So that's them. And then how he did it with an array of players that went on and affect basketball as a whole. Not only what he did in '76, but what he did with Michael Jordan's, right? The Michael Jordans of the world, and and then Quinn Buckner, and then very privileged, very honored to say I played under that system for 4 years, won 80 plus games, and did a lot with him, and now have a chance to pay it forward. I call it passion. pass I on. I'm passing Coach Knight on to everybody I know, man.
It is, yeah, it is just always the conversations never find new ground.
No.
And that is what's
Perpetual.
amazing.
It's perpetual.
It is,
right.
there's
perpetual.
always new ground. And that is what is amazing. After this amount of time, you would think, okay, we plowed this field. Nope. There's always fresh ground, and it's awesome. Ed asked a question that's really for Andre, but you'll know the answer. Was Pat Knight a teammate of Andre? I think so. Last year. Yeah, I think that
we were freshmen. Pat was
you and Osman, you and Andre were freshmen together?
Yeah, I was my roommate.
I missed that earlier. Perfect.
That's okay. No. We were roommates. So it was God bless him. It was Neil Reed, Andre Patterson, and myself. We were all roommates.
Said all three of y'all in there.
All three of us at the Reed dormitory. And then
that's right. That's right. So they had three. They had 3 bedrooms in there.
No. It had suites. So it was 2 rooms. So remember we talked about Rob Hoskins. Remember he came his freshman. So it was all 4 of us, and then Rob ended up transferring very early, preseason in a sense. So it was all 3 of us. So Neil, Andre, and myself.
Yeah, it does suck that poor Neil Reed passing away at way too young of an age. Man, that's
37. Yeah, I mean, but man, and very unfortunate. But so, but fun times, and Neil, just a fun-loving person. But we all were roommates our freshman year at Reed dormitory.
Now, where did you live after that?
Okay, so I don't know that. Yeah, so it was the post office, like around the corner from, we called it the U school, the university school. It was like a post office over there, and there's an apartment complex we lived at. We were so excited as sophomores, because freshmen, we had to live in the dorms, and then our sophomore year, we were able to move out. Our junior year, we lived like 10 plus minutes away from campus south, into like a duplex.
You know where the older guys lived? Was it Parkland Heights?
Yeah, like Jackson Heights and all that. Yeah,
Jackson Heights.
Yeah, Jackson, all good. Yeah, we went way out. Like, I mean, we had the bum rides.
It's so funny thinking where those guys lived.
Oh, now.
I mean, it was not the nicest place in the world.
No.
It was far from it, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And nowadays, and that's where these guys we talk about from the 90s that were some of the best ever, they lived in some of the crappiest places, and now they got them in these high rises across. It's amazing, but
that's a testament to evolution, to the budgets of the Big Tens, and then the money they pour in. It is what it is, right? I know there's a surplus. I mean, I remember the days, Jim, may not be fanfare for people, but I remember when there was a struggle with the athletic department on making budget or staying under budget.
This is before Big Ten money, baby. Big Ten Network changed everything.
But if I recall, I remember the year that IU went to the national championships, there was a deficit because you have to prepay for tickets, and there was a lot of tickets they bought that people didn't come through on. So I mean, so there's it's just the amazement of, even when I was on campus last year, man. I mean, just watching, like looking at the high rises and the walk away from Simon Scott to go to practices, and now in the practice facilities you have 24-hour access to.
Now there was Cook Hall does not exist back when you were around.
No, that was
you got to practice in Assembly Hall. Would you have preferred though to be able to practice in Assembly Hall the whole time like you did, as opposed to?
We sometimes didn't practice Assembly Hall. When there was events, we had to go to the university school. We didn't practice, so Assembly Hall was not available. We had to go to the university school, and that we called the U school. That place was as old as you can get it as well. 2 baskets, or was it 6 or 4? 4 baskets, and that's where we practiced. But now, and I was told Cook Hall and the duplicate locker room that the all players prefer practice day, it used to be the parking lot.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like, oh, you're staying in the parking lot, Charles. Like, wow. So it's pretty impressive and amazing and easy to say, wow, man, what what are the odds if you had something like this? Who knows, right? But yeah, I mean, just it's amazing, the facilities, and I know that's a major part of recruiting as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's another building beside it now where the wrestling and the volleyball goes on. Right beside Cook Hall.
And if you recall this, Jim, we called it the dungeon. That's where the old weight room used to be. And it was in Assembly Hall downstairs. Okay. Now, the football stadium, I think it's is it the north or south side, Jim? It like the
north side.
North side.
North end. The weight room.
Under it, it wraps the whole 100 yards of the field. And then I was told that they were like, man, we could have like 7 varsity sports in this facility, and they won't even touch each other. Like, I mean, that's the testament to the growth. And now look at where football's at right now. I mean, not saying weight room, but just facilities. And now
absolutely,
yeah.
Before you came on, talked about soccer. They just wrapped up a triple-double. For the third straight season, they win the regular season and tournament championships in the Big Ten. That is a feat.
Well, they've been like that since I was in school. So, I mean, they've been that, like, soccer's been that consistent over 30, 20, 25 plus years. And also putting players playing Major League Soccer. I mean, playing overseas. Couple of guys I know I went to school with were playing or were their players when the MLS first started. So, so again, and just again, even on the soccer side.
Speaking of soccer, the automatic qualifiers, of course, Indiana, one of those came out. So they've clinched a spot in the tournament. We'll wait for that draw to come out. I'm looking for any other big time teams, Clemson that I would know. These are all smaller teams, so I don't see the ACC team yet, but we'll see. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they can do in the tournament, man. They are the highest decorated team in the history of college soccer, man. There have been like 40 college cups, I think. They've been to like half. That's a Final Four. They've been to like half of them.
Yep. Yeah.
That's crazy.
That's amazing. It's just amazing to say you're coming through Bloomington. That's amazing to say soccer in Bloomington, right? But for some, and that's when you're recruiting in winning ways, the tradition, the principles, what you stand on, how you practice, the players you're able to recruit, how they can make the team better. I mean, all that matters.
Absolutely. Before we hit this next break, got to take a few minutes because last Friday, when we came on, we started to do the show, I didn't see the news from the night before, but there was the shooting in Indianapolis, which I didn't even know about, so I didn't mention on the show Friday. But definitely want to take a few minutes and think about the families in Indianapolis that are suffering from that shooting, the horrible tragedy, just horrible, and you don't know what to say to people. So. But, man, if you know them or if you know anyone that knows them, just put your arm around them and thank them. And if somebody needs help that man, try to get them help. But that's all you can do. But, man, it's just sad to see that stuff when lives just suddenly end and go away.
Right. Yeah, I think you said it best. I mean, like you normally end the calls with, at least, I know on Mondays, just do something kind for somebody. Sometimes doing something kind is just being quiet, just being available.
Listen.
That's it.
Yeah, I have a hard time with that sometimes.
We all do.
I promise you. Sometimes it's better to listen than to talk.
That's right.
The lesson I wish I could have learned a long time ago, probably.
That's why we were born with two. So that's why we're born with 2 ears and 1 mouth. Listen is twice as much as you speak, right? Sometimes
exactly.
The best thing to do is to do nothing at all.
Exactly. Indiana has to fill out the remaining roster spots when we come back. Are they going to do that via the portal or recruiting, Charlie? And everybody thinks that they need another big guy. And I get that because you've got 3. You've got Trace Jackson Davis. You've got Logan Duncombe coming in. And you've got Race Thompson. and everyone's fearful that you have to have this other big guy because other teams. I'm like, dude, did you not watch Purdue and Texas Southern?
Right.
Texas Southern is not nearly as big as Purdue, and Purdue was lost trying to chase them. It depends on who's dictating the terms.
That's right. That's right.
If they have big guys, are you going to let them dictate the terms? They have to keep up with you. They have to stop your shooters. It's a style.
I feel there's going to be a push for a transfer portal because I think the criteria now has lifted to we need someone who's player ready, someone who has experience. And with over 1,200 players, which I can probably see that right now still being about 1,000, if 200 have made decisions, you now really have a new recruiting grounds to go after. So it's interesting because I know coaches, as you talked about Coach Davis, he loves to go to the transfer portal.
Oh, he said I'm recruiting the portal now.
Diamonds in the rough. Listen, Coach Davis had a player who averaged 5.5 points at one school and averaged 16 points at his school last year. So people, I feel coaches, especially the situation we're in Indiana, I think they're going to go after experience, right? This is not Coach Fife's first rodeo, right? This is not Coach Woodson's first rodeo per se. They're going to go after experience. And I feel they're going to get somebody who's going to be player ready to probably replace Brunk, who just left, right? And that's what I think. I feel unless there's a 5-star freshman that's available, which I highly doubt, or someone they really see that has a high ceiling, I think they're going out the potential. I mean, I'm sorry, somebody's going to be ready.
Because not only that 5-star freshman, what happens if he comes and he's not happy?
Yeah,
they're less likely to leave if they're transferring in.
We know what's going to happen.
Yeah. We got to take a quick break. We'll come back. We got more to talk about. Jim Reamer will join us and plenty more from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, brought to you by Andy Moore Honda. Back right after this.
Perfect.
Hey, Hoosier fans, whether you're looking for a new or
I'm letting Andre know next Monday for sure.
You bet.
Yes, Andre, next Monday. Next Monday, Andre. I'll give you a heads up ahead of time.
What's up, Reem?
Hey, what's happening?
Another day in the life.
Let's see. Looking up something here real quick. We played a kid this weekend who was fabulous.
What is it? What was that turning?
Yeah, the Terrific 24 with do you know who Dinos Dragonis is?
Where's he from?
Charlie froze. There he is.
No, I'm here. I'm sorry.
Do you know Dinos Dragonis?
No, I
Charlie.
Do not.
He runs. He's got the Pangos camp.
Okay.
Those Pangos camps. Those are his. He used to also be involved with Reebok or in Vegas on the Reebok side.
Okay.
I think that's how he got started. That's how I got to know him, at least, or where I got to know him. And I'm pretty sure he was part of that.
Jim Coyle, Jim Reamer has that coach's voice over the weekend.
I told you that's what it would be last week. I said next week you probably won't be able to hear me.
I know what that sounds like. It's like that. That's all weekend.
When I was in high school, Joe Hinton was Floyd Central's coach.
Yeah.
He had a heart attack one year. So during the season, they gave him a microphone to use during practice so he won't yell.
Exactly.
And they wired it through the speakers. Well, they had to take that away from him because all he did was yell to him some bitches through that microphone, and it was too loud, and they had to take it away from him.
Right.
Yeah. I'm I'm not very loud. I don't have a very loud voice. So for me to be heard, even in an AAU gym, is to just I have to bark. So
exactly. Well, and the barking is more so.
All right, we're coming back. I don't mean to interrupt conversation, but we need to. I don't want the station telling us that we're talking between commercials.
Cool.
And a premier resort experience that is waiting for you on your next visit to French Lick, West Baden.
Today's guest is brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry of Sellersburg. You need $1 million smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you'll get with Reynolds Family Dentistry. Welcome back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios on this Monday. Jim Reamer joining us. Charlie Miller sitting in. A lot of AAU action going on over the weekend. I see Christopher Gunn pointed out Indy Heat 22, the AAU team that CJ plays on, went undefeated this weekend. Check out those highlights on Twitter, Christopher Gunn's account. Jim Reamer, how are you doing, brother?
That'd be his dad. His dad's account. His dad does a pretty good job on social media. Chris is a good guy. So
yeah,
I'm doing well, but I told you guys I would sound like this last week.
I love it.
Basketball times here, man. AAU action going on. Yeah, it's great. First of all, it's good to be able to say that 2 weeks in a row. Fun. The kids getting out.
Yes.
I'm like,
oh man.
I went to the Big Ten soccer championship Saturday. It's the first soccer match I've seen all year. It was like, wow. It was just nice getting out and being around people.
Are you like isolated where you are, Jim? I mean,
well, it's not isolated so much as the games and stuff have been, they're spread out and I can't get to each one of them all the time, but plus staying here and now I'm vaccinated. Now I feel so much better. I'm like, oh, it's over, baby. I'm on the road.
Well, Mary and Monroe County has been a little bit more restrictive than
they have shut us down.
Hamilton County. We've been pretty. Oh, I'm going to use the word normal. We've been relatively normal up here since November. I mean, obviously masks in and out, but now most of the places I go to, especially the independent, the locally owned places, we're not wearing masks anymore. So, but like you, I'm vaccinated. So and everybody that's around me is vaccinated. I mean, everybody that's like my, mother, grandmother, they've all been vaccinated before me, but so I'm not too worried about it now. So it's time to just get going and hope everybody else is taking their responsibility. So.
Absolutely. Charlie's down there where it's the Wild West, so he's all good.
Hey, look, I don't even want to say anything because it's like you're talking about are you isolated? I'm ISO. We're ISO. We're whatever down here, man, in Texas. I mean, it's been wide open for a long time, and unfortunately, fortunately, we as a family, well, my wife and I had COVID around in December. But we all had mild symptoms. I would never take that lightly. But but I totally get it. I'm glad things are getting back to a normal as well.
So, Jim, the action busts out. This is the second weekend, though, but you had some teams that played, too. So what was your action like?
We played at Dino Stragonis' event here in Indy. Last year, he had to come to Indy because Indiana was one of the few states that was allowing that type of competitive play in June. And he was completely shut down in California, which is probably still completely shut down. I don't know what their status is, but so he also does events here, usually surrounding Nike and Under Armour, trying to get a lot of teams close. And our independent teams have always been able to play in his events and done well. And this week we played in his event. He brings in really good teams from out of state. It's nice not playing, easy games. It's nice having competitive games. It's nice not playing any cupcakes. It's nice not seeing the same teams every week, even the good ones. And it's nice to get our kids competing. And, we're going to go down and play in an NY2LA event in Louisville this weekend. And then we'll be at Fort Wayne the weekend after that for the Run and Slam. And, we'll be pretty tested after 3 weeks. And this will be our first practice after getting to play. So we'll juggle between putting on some Band-Aids and and moving forward and adding some things to what we're trying to do. So, but it was a good week. We went 3-1, and the team we lost to's got a kid that's going to probably end up with multiple high majors here pretty soon. And if I was Indiana, I'd take a look at this kid, Drew Kingery from Indianola, however you pronounce it, Indianola, Iowa. His coach seems to think he's going to have offers from Iowa State, and Drake and Northern Iowa. As soon as he can take visits.
Where were you guys at? Where was your event at?
West side of Indy at Teague's place called D1. It's called the Factory.
You're at Teagues. At Teagues. All right.
It's a small facility, but it's a great facility.
I need to get those guys on. I've been saying that. But and the other action was going on up at up north
Rapids.
there at
Grand Rapids, Michigan. Yeah.
Not up in up there on the north side.
No,
just on the north side. I thought there was
Indy Heat was playing up at the Storm Classic up in Grand Rapids, Michigan. So so
this was the only action in Indiana then.
This was the only. No, I shouldn't say the only. This was the only action that had multiple strong teams in each age group. There were a couple of the Indiana elite teams played up at Grand Park. Their fields weren't too difficult, but some of the better teams in Indiana were still up in Grand Rapids or at the factory in Indianapolis.
Charlie, do you have teams?
I do, but we don't. Yeah, we don't compete on those levels.
You're mostly development.
More so development or the high school level, where you may have one or two players that may go, if they want to play NIA or probably D2, but I don't, not the AAU circuit. I have a lot of players that play, on the circuit that I
usually when we know what kind of gym access we can have, we will have multiple teams in an age group, and one team
Tomar
will travel.
Bates. Sorry, but Tomar Bates apparently is committing to Indiana.
Oh, really? Nice.
There you go.
Where one team will travel, and then one team will do what Charlie's teams probably do, is just stay local. And those teams typically will have kids that didn't get recruited across other teams or play multiple sports, and it's just difficult for them to earn playing time on those teams, and so that we'll end up having a baseball kid or a kid that really prioritizes track, or things like that. Because I've got a baseball player on my team, and the agreement we've got with him is his playing time will probably be just production based only, because I'm not entirely sure how many practice he's going to get to. So, and he did a good job off the fly. We picked him up late. He only had one practice, and before we played, everybody else had like 7 or 8, and he did a decent job yesterday of fitting in, so it was good. So, but running a lot of motion, Charlie. You might actually like watching us play. I
want to play for you because I love what you said. You talked to him and you told him it was going to be production based, and there was an agreement, the buy-in. I right there, I'm already hooked. Forget playing time. That's awesome.
I think the more transparent you are in that situation, the fewer problems you have on the back end. And I often will undersell on purpose. And sometimes we don't get a kid because of that. We'll undersell something. I definitely don't promise playing time.
That's right.
That's never a problem. I don't know if you remember who Chase McFarland is. He played at Wake Forest. He lived in Lovington, Illinois, which is basically Decatur, Illinois. And he came over on the 2005 team.
Okay.
And he played. He couldn't get the practice because it was 3 hours. Mm-hmm. We had a kid named Nick Rogers and Jordan Armstrong, who both went to Southern Illinois, both made the Indiana All-Star team. And so he was effectively their backup.
Nice.
But he could never get the practice, and he was fine with it. We talked about it. We made the agreement. And then the moral of the story is my backup center went to Wake Forest. So
there we go.
That was a good group. That was the Dominic James group. That was the Armand Bassett group. That was So, there was a lot of talent there that, if we had a kid like that coming off the bench, he'd made us better. And but that was a pretty special group. But yeah, he was fine with it because I told him that these kids are here every week practicing. You can't make it, and if you want their respect, you're going to have to come in and play the role that you can possibly earn. And then in the summer when he could get here, he actually moved in with me and live with me in June and July.
Nice.
And so then he could get to practice. And then we did start rotating who started up front, and then we were really good. We just could not beat freaking YOMCA from Memphis. We couldn't Thad Young,
right,
and Sean Williams, and Pierre Niles, who went to Memphis, and then I think Willie Kemp or Trey Kemp, I can't remember which one, went to Georgia Tech as a point guard. So we just could not get past that team, save our lives. And
I appreciate that commitment. I mean, I mean, that just, again, the more I listen to you, I think, Jim, you said it early, Coyle, it's like there's a deep process that continue to kind of unfolds with everybody, and it's just perpetual, man. I appreciate what I'm hearing from you on your dedication to the game. So I like that.
We got to take a quick break. When we come back, Tomar Bates has committed to Indiana, shooting guard. So we'll talk about that and what that does to the roster. Stay tuned. Back with more from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, brought to you by Andy Moore Honda right after this. Hey, Hoosier fans, whether you're looking for a new or
Tomar Bates. That's the kid that was going to Texas. Okay. Hopefully my voice isn't.
No, it's fine. That's big, man. Now, is this kid he's a freaking freshman?
Yeah. Man. There's nothing wrong with that. You guys were talking about this earlier, and if you want to revisit it, I agree. If they're going to get a big man, it has to be somebody who can help right away.
Right.
Because that's what they lost in Brunk. I mean,
that's right.
And you want to maximize what you've got left in Trace.
Exactly.
And you need a guy. You got Duncombe for what he can be. And, Duncombe may be able to come in and give them some minutes, but it would be nice if they had a legitimate 3-big rotation where Trace could not always draw the other team's best post defender or even just their biggest post defender, because he just always had a size disadvantage. And, of course, part of that, too, may be how is he used and how much more willing he is to display or to utilize his face-up game.
Yep.
So I can't tell you how many times Roberts told me Trace has a right hand, he just won't use it. Now, Trace didn't have a jump shot.
Well, and I think I'm hoping that's what he develops. That's going to help him face. I mean, especially if he wants to play for a long time and, at the next level, he has an opportunity.
Well, and I've seen it. I've seen his workouts with Joey Burton, who a lot of the guys in this area work out with. And I mean, Joey has his own NBA clientele as well, but I've seen Trace work out. So I know he works on it. I know when he is in workouts, he's at least the ones I've been to, and I've only been to, I think I've only seen 3 when he does them up here. But he is, I mean, he's getting up shots. I can't imagine he's not getting up shots all the time at Cook. So. This time of year, Mondays or Sundays for me.
I bet.
So I'll get off here and probably take a nap at some point.
I bet.
Oh, yeah, I forgot this kid's from Kansas.
Is that the kid from?
He's from Kansas, but he went to IMG.
We just spoke about IMG earlier.
Yeah, he averaged 22 points, 5 rebounds, and 4 assists, 2 steals a game. 58% from the field, 44 from 3.
Stay in touch with your community and know that you are not alone. Learn more at wearebroadcasters.com/hope. Furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters and this station.
This segment is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, beer.
Welcome back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, brought to you by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Charlie Miller, Jim Reamer joining me. Jim Coyle here with you as always. Charlie, Tomar Bates has committed to Indiana. He's a 6'5" shooting guard, originally from Kansas, but went through IMG Academy. The guy can score, he can dish, he rebounds, he checks a lot of boxes. That's a great commitment for Indiana to get. We were talking about which direction we wondered what they would go, and you said that if it was a big man, that they're probably going to go via the portal. This is the guard. They got a freshman, so you kind of nailed it there. But this is the last few years, shooting obviously a critical issue for Indiana. This is one of those answers, hopefully, to solving that problem.
Well, it's almost like as if you can. Well, that it sounds like that's what Coach Woodson said they're going after, right? Players that's ready to play, and I think you're tested because you're playing at IMG, you're playing against future pros at other prep schools, so
kind of like a JUCO almost.
Impressive numbers. I mean, so you hope he could be able to translate that and transfer some of that skill set to the next level. So that's pretty impressive to say a player who went to IMG. Those are good numbers. What you said, 40% 3-point?
44% from three. He's up 53 from two.
Yeah, that's player ready. That's readiness. So we'll see.
Well, it's 58-44, but also it's the 22 points, the 5 rebounds, 4 assists. He's checking the box. He's not letting off of anything. So you're getting a guard that is active in scoring, very active in scoring, but dishing. So
another thing too, to me, to get those type of numbers, that's one thing, but you got somebody who has the experience of playing time, game management. Right, you don't average 22 in 10 minutes. I mean, if we did, when we talking about him? But I mean, that means he's a gamer. He probably knows how to play, and he'll learn obviously more as he gets into the college level. But that to me is what I also hear. Someone who's used to being on the court, making adjustments.
Looks like a team player, Jim.
Yeah.
A lot of times though, it depends too on how much the ball's in his hands and what they're running offensively, if it sticks. And again, I always go back to how a kid can play without the basketball, because you look at what they've got. They're going to play next year. Xavier Johnson, Parker Stewart, Robert Finney, Christian Lander. There's a lot of guys. There's Johnson, Finney, and Lander, but all three primary ball handler, offense initiator type guys. I mean, Bates is going to have to come in and be able to play off the ball and function. But that doesn't mean now today's game, with as much as they utilize, reversing into ball screens and reversing into handoffs, it's always good to have secondary playmakers on the floor. And those assist totals at least suggest that he does have good vision. So I think the rest of it's going to be what kind of reads can he make behind the action, as the action stuff that fills in behind him as he's attacking.
It also goes to what Mike Woodson and that staff is doing in the short time that they've been here. They've moved along and gotten things done, but they're getting things done that they need to get done, not just filling in holes. So that should be a very positive thing for Hoosier fans to look forward to as this program is progressing. And you can see, to me, it seems already to be trending up. Charlie.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, and I know, I don't know exactly when, but the promise here is they all have a chance to practice together in the summer. You can, versus back when I was in college, you can get together with your team. So that to me is another factor here, where you're going to maximize out on that time as a team practice, maximize out on the individual workouts as well, to get the philosophies and systems and the reason the options kind of down. So when your preseason hits, you can pretty much be at full capacity going into the season with expectations. And the key to me, and as I finish up, is for me, you want at least 9 to 10 plus players knowing their reads and options and how to play. And I'm hoping that they have that this year. Not just 2 or 3.
I think they have one scholarship left, Jim.
They do. I've got to actually have that looked up. So yeah, they do.
So that definitely, to me, they need either a wing or a big. I don't know which. I'm going to defer to you guys roster wise. What's the best?
Big. They need an experienced big.
They need experience now. Yeah.
They need to maximize Trace's year. Yeah. Presumably, his third and final year at Indiana. I think people would have said that last year about this past year, but you look at their wing situation. They've got Galloway, who they know can play. They've got Hunter, who's their best shooter, and haven't figured out if he's more suited for like a second, like a stretch 4 or just a wing. They've got Jordan Geronimo, who probably can play both those positions and may have the highest ceiling among that group. And then you've got Leal, who is probably their best shooter last year, other than, well, I mean, frankly, I guess I just love how Leal shoots the ball. So he didn't get enough.
Yeah, but
volume.
we don't get to see that because
that's
of
true.
Development, and that's the thing. That's the thing. We don't know. What can they do with an Anthony Leal? What can they do with Jerome Hunter? Because he's not been effective in any way, to be honest with you, as that slasher wing that they have not had, but they need. I think they need that desperately to complement this guard play and the bigs. That's the one thing they haven't had, is that guy that can slash and either get to the rim or dish it and draw and dish.
Yeah, look, it's Charlie was making a point about being able to practice this summer. I mean, imagine bringing in a new coach last year and not being able to do any of that. I mean, I think all 4 of those freshmen had their growth stunted. Right. Because they weren't able to be as involved in an off season as what normally. And Indiana is obviously not unique in that situation. But I would be curious to see. Look at a school like Kentucky that relies heavily on freshmen. Look how much they struggled this past year. You look at all these. You look at all these teams that rely heavily on freshmen, and I would be curious to see how many of them played worse or even poorly than what they normally do. But I would expect to see a jump in some of these incoming sophomores for Indiana, just because they're going to have an extra year. And I just think, but you go back to what they need. I don't know if they need another wing, because they've got some flexibility.
They do.
They've got flexibility with Stewart. They've got flexibility with Johnson. He's big enough that he could play with Rob, or he could be the starting point guard. They've got flexibility now with Bates. Galloway can certainly play the 3. Geronimo can certainly guard it and probably shoots the ball, is going to be able to shoot the ball well enough to have to be guarded out there. Just one more big man, one more big who can provide experience and some physicality up front to give Trace and even Race some cover. So.
Yeah, everyone was concerned about the loss of Armand, and I really never was, because I knew that with the portal that was going to be, there wasn't a lot. That was just average to me that I thought was going to be replaced. And Forrest points out Bates could be a better version of Armand. Maybe not at the start because he's a freshman, but he's definitely coming in looking that way. But this is college, and we'll see how that translates.
Right.
Kenneth says Trace Jackson. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Well, no, of course, Trace Jackson Davis is not a floor stretcher next year. No one said he was. Did anybody say he was a floor stretcher next year?
No.
He is?
No.
Okay. No, we didn't.
He's not. No, we're asking.
No one said that. No one said that.
Yeah, I'm hoping he can stretch the floor, but if he's a creature of habit, then it's going to be 10 feet and down or a dunk that we know. So
and he's anything he can do facing is going to be able to expand what he can do in that dribble drive, because he can. He can definitely finish through people. He does not shy away from contact one bit.
CJ is still a year away, though.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. Just tell CJ's a year away, though.
We're all reading the comments that are popping up on the screen. So
now this is actually one that I do want to talk about, though. Trace Jackson. We mentioned it before. We've talked about it several times. Expecting this to be his last year, but he has to do these things that we've talked about: develop his offhand, develop his jump shot. Or why would this be his last year? I mean, why is he is not good enough one-handed to go into that league? And I just who the hell's going to draft him one-handed? He is not dominant, so dominant one-handed that I don't know who's going to want him.
This goes back to something I've said and written a little bit about, is more and more, even among guys that are drafted in the lottery, more and more, you better have a floor that gets you in the rotation of an NBA team, at least by the midway point of your second year.
Yeah.
Or else they're not going to invest money in you.
Right.
And while people think leave college, get your money, get paid, all that kind of stuff, that's fine. That's fun money. That's 4 or 5 year party money. That's not change your life money. It sounds stupid, but when you consider how many of these guys that wash out of the NFL and the NBA early, after 3.5 years, How many of those guys end up bankrupt, or how many of those guys end up even worse, broke, and in bad situations? The generational wealth comes on the second long-term contract. That's when you really change your life. That's when you change your kids' lives, when you change your grandkids' lives, your unborn grandkids' lives.
Unborn, right? Yeah.
That's what matters. So your floor, look what Cody Zeller did. Cody realized he wouldn't be ready after his freshman year. He has not had a stellar NBA career, but what he proved is that he could be part of an NBA rotation. And he was ready to do that the instant he stepped into the NBA. And while he was probably closer to his ceiling coming out of Indiana than what some people thought. He was drafted pretty high. One thing was clear: his floor was good enough to keep him on an NBA floor, 15 to 20 minutes a game. And he parlayed that into a second long-term contract. And I think that extra year at Indiana completely made that possible. So,
look, Charlie, I'll get your take on that in a second, but we got to jump off for the radio side. Everybody listening on the radio, can't thank you enough. I hope you go out and have a great day. Do something nice for someone. I want to make sure I thank Charlie and Jim Reamer, and, of course, Andre Patterson. It was great. We'll get him on again next week. Do that again. But thank you. Most importantly, just wear your mask, do something nice. And until tomorrow, I'm Jim Coyle. I'll see you on the radio. Charlie, and what you're.
No, I was going to say something about what Jim said. I think it was last week, Jim, where we talked about ceiling versus floor.
Yeah, for me, it was with Armand.
Yeah, exactly. So even with the NBA guys, right? So it's like, Trace's talent is good enough to get him there. And if you can look at, if I outlook, and it's just a closer tie to Mike Woodson, look at like a player like a Julius Randle, who has stretched his game. Right. And that's kind of what I brought up. Okay. And Coach Woodson was around that evolution of him becoming an all-star player who has stretched the floor, who came from Kentucky as pretty much a 10-foot and down player, athletic. Now he's, out there shooting. And so it's there. I'm not saying he needs to play like that, but I think body type, they're very familiar, very similar. And just talking about that.
Well, I think too, you look at him, Randall, and he was a guy that I think he's always been a really good passer from the very beginning.
Right.
So they could run a lot of offense through him.
Right.
Trace hasn't shown that yet. I don't know that Indiana has had a system for him to display that though, and that's that's not even a criticism of Miller.
Right.
That's not a criticism of anybody. You don't always put your bigs in situations where they can be playmakers. I've coached kids I can do that with. I've coached kids that I can't, who are equally as talented, just different acumen on the floor. But the Franklin thing, going back to what Jim said, to me, Armand was a floor raiser. He wasn't a ceiling raiser.
Right.
I think he was a guy that I don't know that we would see his numbers jump certainly as much as they did from his freshman to his sophomore year. I don't think I would look up and expect to see Armand Franklin averaging 18, 19 points a game by the time he's a senior. I think he's a guy that's going to be right around 11 to 13. And even if he shot 45% from three, to me, that's going to be an outlier. But I think if he regresses more to the mean, if he ends up shooting 39, 40% from three at Virginia, I think that's still extremely good. Yeah. So I think that's an extremely good percentage no matter what. So
no question.
But I don't think he was irreplaceable as some people were trying to make it out to be when he left. And
I think he made a mistake personally. I always did, but you got to do what's best for you. And I just don't know. I don't see him as an next level player anyway. Maybe in Europe, but that's his only option is in Europe, and I don't know how that is going. That offense is not. I mean, I think of Europe. I think of Jordan Hulls. I think of James Blackman. Those guys that can just knock down shots from deep, unless you're a big guy, which he is not. So he's got to be a knockdown shooter if he's going to play in Europe. And
he's going to have to learn how to play. He'll have to learn how to play without the ball in Europe. And in Virginia, he'll get that. Yeah. He'll come off more flare screens than you'll know what to do with. And I mean, they're 75% of their offense is flare screens and pin downs. So, and then the rest of it is off the flare catch through, when do they get ball screens versus when do they operate in isolation. So, I mean, that's a pretty basic assessment of what you get in a blocker mover. But he is, he'll get that training. And again, that's not a criticism of Miller. That, in my point, it's a preference.
Exactly.
I love an offense.
That's right.
Yeah, I love an offense that prioritizes player movement
That's right.
and that motivates ball movement. So, that's something Knight would always say. It's not ball movement; it's player movement.
Player movement.
So,
Charlie, what's up next for you, brother? Until we talk again.
I'm heading to the gym right now. I got a player again. I talked about. He's in the transfer portal, and he's looking to make his decision pretty soon. So. We're in the gym.
We didn't mention that. You were going to have a portal player on with us today that had no connection to IU.
Just more so talk about the experience, right?
Maybe that's another. Maybe we can get him on next week as well.
Because for me, and again, this is more of a celebration of the game. Like there's an option you have for whatever reason. It's not to dramatize or downplay, but like what is it like to be in that portal? What is it like to look at your decision to be recruited again? Was more so the element of what I want to discuss. So I'm hoping next week things clear up for him. If we can have him on, if that's something that's that's available, we want to definitely look at that.
Yeah, because we'll get to talk to him and we can actually find out what that process is like from the inside out.
Exactly.
What are they looking at? What are they thinking? What are the coaches saying? Or how are they being reached out to?
Right.
There are so many questions that people would love to know that he can answer.
Exactly.
That would really be fun.
Definitely.
Charlie,
so I have a whole week to prep him. So we're in the gym all week. All day.
Are you taking calls on him?
I am. I can't say I'm not.
That's fine. No, because look, I had Smith's transfer from Valpo to Butler,
right?
And
that was my favorite denial ever.
I
can't say I'm not.
I can't say I'm not been contacted, or I can't say, hey. It's a part of that. As neutral as I want to be and fair, it's like.
Yeah. Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, I see what you mean. But as an advocate for the kid, there's no reason why they shouldn't communicate with you,
Correct.
especially
since
you bring experience. Well, he brings experience to the process, and I don't bring player experience, but I've coached a lot of kids. I've been fortunate to coach a lot of kids that have played there.
Yeah, for years. And again, people trust your assessment, and that's it. And that's all I'm doing, is just trying to be that conduit for him. And also, even when I speak to Jordan, his name, when I speak to him, it's like, hey, I'm, your decision, man. I'm just here as a person who can give you a voice of reason. Yeah, and that dunk against Conzo Martin. We talked about Conzo Martin last week. That dunk against Conzo Martin on the left wing.
There's the transfer portal.
If you think players do not remember every single great posterizing moment of their career, you are nuts.
It was a rip. Conzo was playing me to the left. Brandon Brentley had his back turned because Allen was screening across. And I saw that and my eyes got that big. And Conzo let me go left. And I didn't know if Conzo knew I was left-handed, which I think he knew. That was a highlight, man. Now, every single play, I don't care if it's good or bad, every play, I can probably go down every single play.
I guarantee it.
I can mount.
One last thing on transfer portal, Charlie. My thought was that process versus the recruiting process in high school, a much greater sense of urgency.
Yes.
In terms of timetable for everybody involved. I remember when Smith's hit the transfer portal. Look, part of it's his name, part of it's his size, and his skill set. He certainly has a name that people knew. I bet I got 20 phone calls within 15 minutes of that news getting out on social media, and Verbal Commits does a great job of getting that stuff out there. And they must have something that crawls the NCAA website for that stuff to come across. But they, as soon as that thing hit, and we tweeted it too, as soon as that thing hit, the phone lit up, and a lot of it was me giving them his number.
Right.
But at the same time, that process, and they want to kind of play it out a little bit, and they were able to find 3 schools that were willing to play it out and go through a different process. And and then he ended up at Butler and just couldn't get healthy. So, but yeah, it's different, and it's different in how you approach decision making because it is a much more confined time space.
Right. Yeah.
And where normally I say do your thing and make sure they know what you're doing.
Exactly.
But tell them what you're going to do, and then feel free to do it the way you tell them to do it, like the high school recruiting stuff. Because
that's right.
Just because somebody commits early doesn't mean that you have to. Although scholarships are still a scarce resource, so
you know it.
Well, a great day. Indiana gets another commitment from Tomar Bates, a shooting guard. So that fills in one of the last holes. Now you see what they can do in the portal on a big man. If they land an experienced big man with what they have back and what they have coming in, this team can be pretty decent next year. I mean, this is without question a team that should be able to unquestionably fight in the upper half of the Big Ten. I don't know exactly how tough the Big Ten is going to be next year yet.
I mean, I know we don't know this, but is he any relation to Imani Bates?
No.
Well,
if he is, it's not direct. I mean, Imani's out of Michigan.
Okay.
Out of the Detroit area.
Okay.
Well, I don't know that part. He's out of Michigan. I don't know what part of the state he's from,
okay.
But they could be related, but I would assume if he is, it's distant.
Yeah.
It's cousins, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I asked that question. If people are like, are you related? Are you Reggie Miller's little brother? Like, no. No. Miller.
Why would you should say yes every time. Every time. You should say, yeah, but I shoot better.
Oh man. Reggie had that elbow out. Reggie. That's why I think on shot mechanics, you really can't say one.
No, yeah. No.
His elbow was. You cannot say he had the prototypical. So it's
nobody would ever teach anyone how to shoot the ball like Reggie Miller. His elbows out, his hands cross after he shoots.
Exactly. But he ran top speed and stopped on a dime and went straight up and down. Rarely faded. You can whip a lot on him on coming off flare screens, and I can go on about him watching.
He shoots like a 5-year-old.
Well, it's cross-handed, yeah.
He shoots like a 5-year-old.
That's how he learned to shoot it.
Exactly. He shoots like he's still shooting as a 5-year-old.
He got
so good at it.
Do you have touch? Are your mechanics repeatable?
Exactly.
And then can you eventually
consistently
evolve?
Repeatable? Yeah.
Right.
Can you evolve to the point where you can get it to repeat those mechanics in a much quicker way?
That's right.
There's a lot of kids that shoot the ball well. They just don't. They can't.
Yeah.
That was Grant Galen from Crown Point, the kid that committed the Crean. Beautiful shooter. Just two things: couldn't get open, couldn't get a shot off. So, really, really good at horse.
I'll give you really? Guys a quick acronym I call for shooters. It's called CARE. Are you consistent? Are you accurate? Are you repeatable? And are you efficient? Because less is more. Less moving parts is the better way, right? Are you efficient? Right. And can you shoot straight?
Reggie screws that part up too, but
right.
No, but and I look at how they miss too.
Yeah.
What do you look like? Because I coached a kid, Jason Holsinger, same team as Armand Bassett, James, all those guys that we talked about earlier. When that kid missed, it still looked like it was going in. He was our best shooter. He ended up in Evansville. He went down and played for Marty down at Evansville.
Mm-hmm.
And the kid could really shoot it. And the one thing that he didn't miss big. He never the ball always went between the rim.
That's
it just rattled in. So
he's a great shooter. That's exactly right.
Like what's the show? There's a aim small, miss small. Daggone, it's a really good movie. It's probably has something to do with a sniper or a killer or something. But somehow I've relayed it to basketball and aim small, miss small. And that's what Holsinger was. He was aim small, miss small, and the kid was just a tremendous shooter. So there were some bad misses last year on that Indiana team. There was a lot of
it's inconsistent, right?
There was a lot of bad misses.
A lot of inconsistent misses. So you couldn't pinpoint. Is it short? Was it short, long, left, right? You couldn't pinpoint it. So
right.
I'm with you. Yeah.
Jim, you guys hanging out with Shepherds. They always said you miss it short, you miss it long, keep shooting.
Dave Shepherds?
Yeah, the Dave and Billy. Miss it short, you miss it long, keep shooting. You miss it right and left, get back in the gym.
Yeah, I love it. That's right. 4 ways you miss shots. Those are the 4 ways right there.
Yep.
That's it. Well, guys, it's been fun, man. As always, plenty going on. I'm glad we had that Tomar Bates thing happen during it. That gave us something extra to talk about. Look forward to talking to Andre next week. He was really, that was really enjoyable. It really was, and looking forward to doing it more. So, so that was a blast. Thank you, Jim. Where you guys got action next weekend?
Louisville.
What's going on in Louisville?
It's a grassroots showcase. It's an NY2LA event. Antonio Curry out of Milwaukee runs a series of events that are tremendous. And what they do in Louisville is that we'll be at the we'll be at the Freedom Hall, or the
Exposition Center.
Yeah. There'll probably be anywhere from 25 to 30 courts.
Nice.
Some of them will probably be sport court and suck, and won't like playing on them, but it'll be basketball. And
that's right.
And then the weekend after that will be in Fort Wayne.
Verdell may be in Louisville, because I know that his team, Verdell Jones, I know that his group was going to Louisville, but it may be later. I don't know if it's this weekend. I'll have to find out, but well, to see. But I'm looking forward to getting out and seeing some of that as well. But guys, have a great day. I can't thank you enough. Charlie, can't thank you enough. And Andre as well, man. It's been fun as always, and we'll do it again tomorrow and with you guys next week.
Appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Thank you, guys, and everybody else, too. Without you, it wouldn't have happened. So go out and do something nice for somebody. Wear your mask. And until tomorrow, I'm Jim Coyle. I'll see you on the radio.
All right, guys.